We just went over the two biggest nuclear detonations that America has ever detonated. You got to see the videos yourself. And now let's look at an enormous bomb that Israel dropped on Lebanon this morning. Bigger than the other ones if we're looking at these buildings for scale. Well, you saw the explosion, but it's so big that there is nothing to give you any kind of framework for how large it actually is. I'm going to give that to you right now. This mushroom cloud from end to end, okay, on the big side up top is 100 miles wide. The stem is 36 miles. So when you're talking about thermonuclear weapons, that's what you're talking about. Think about how far it is to drive 2 hours in the car, mostly on the freeway. That's the amount of distance you're talking across that mushroom cloud. Now, you look at this screen next to me. Is this what Armageddon looks like? No. You give it a couple hours, though, and that might change, right? Because this is a live tracker for Hurricane Milton, and it is a Category 5 that is headed towards Tampa, where you may have heard less than a week ago, Hurricane Helene hit, and I'm assuming that you guys have probably seen some of those images, right? We could just watch a little bit of this.
And it is hard to really do anything at this moment that is more important than this. Look at what our fellow Americans are going through and dealing with today. This image is from Rutherford County, North Carolina. It just is an entire section of neighborhood completely ripped apart. The official who shot this video says that the area is post-apocalyptic.
Yeah. So you look at that, right? And then you think to yourself, when has there been a situation where a storm this big hit and you had catastrophe like this? Maybe never, period. But then how is there another Category 5 hurricane hitting right now within a week? How is that possible? Okay, you're going to tell, oh, I know, right? Climate change, right, guys? Climate change. Because, yeah, climate change. Now, if I were a conspiracy theorist and I had watched some documentaries about HAARP and control of the weather, and then I remembered that there is an election that has what appears to be a 0% chance of the establishment's presidential candidate winning, I might think to myself, well, is this like the last ditch effort for them to like do something that could change the outcome of this election? You know, like, I don't know, or is this all part of some Project 2030, where they want to move the entire world into some global communist state or whatever. And then you're going to have like, everything is going to be run by one group. But in order to do that, they need to kind of break the economy. Then they need access to the lithium that's getting dug up in North Carolina. And like the amount of information that is being poured into my brain from a bunch of different sources right now is absolutely unbelievable. And so we'll look at more of those explosions. And we're also going to look at this little number right here, which actually puts in perspective the size of the destruction in North Carolina. Okay. And all of this is leading to a Category 5 hurricane hitting Tampa, Florida, and the southeastern United States today. How is that happening? Are they controlling the weather? Are all those conspiracy theories true? And I will pose a few other questions related to that to the audience. As a matter of fact, I'm going to start right there, and then we're going to get into all of this. By the way, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. I would appreciate that. I would appreciate the support. Very helpful. And like the video and share this video. Just go, hey guys, text it to your friends, dude. Text it to one friend. If everybody did me a huge favor and texted this video to one friend, it will change the landscape of this channel completely. That nothing matters more than that. People texting videos to their friends, nothing matters more than that. Anyway, let's continue. So here is the question I want to pose to you. Okay. So you guys know about the Ring of Fire, right? Which is the, it's the fault line on the earth. I probably should have had something pulled up. As a matter of fact, I will pull it up right now. So the Ring of Fire, okay, it's about earthquakes. Okay. So here is the Ring of Fire. Okay. See that right there? That is the Eastern Asia, the Western United States, Western Africa, and then east of Australia. Okay. That's the Ring of Fire. Now, if we go into here, and this is how this looks. So It's about a 40,000 kilometer long. So the Ring of Fire contains between 750 and 915 active dormant dormant volcanoes, around 2/3 of the world's total. The exact number of volcanoes within the Ring of Fire depends on the regions included. About 90% of the world's earthquakes, including most of its largest, occur within the belt. Okay, so it's about earthquakes, right? And so here's the question that I want to pose to you guys. When you look at this map right here, right? When you go, let's, I don't know, look at that. When you look at this map, let me resize it for you guys so you guys can see it a little bit better. Do you ask yourself, how is it that no big earthquakes have hit the United States since we've had major technological advancements, you know? Like everybody knows that the Western United States has been due for an enormous earthquake for ever, right? Now, we haven't had one since what, the 87? You know, like a really catastrophic earthquake since the World Series when the Giants were playing the A's. Okay? So I've always wondered if we figured out technology to control where you can relieve that pressure. Because ultimately, you know, I'm like, maybe we figured out technology to where you can see when there's pressure building in certain parts of the Ring of Fire, and we figured out a way where we can make that pressure get relieved in other parts of the world and not in the United States. That would be top secret. It would be, you know, you would never be able to tell anybody, but it would be something that you would do to protect the United States versus, you know, it being like a Russian roulette. And if we lose, we're going to have, complete devastation in our own country. Now, here's the thing. If that's not going on, then we got problems, dude, because we're overdue for the Western United States to get smashed by an earthquake. You know what I mean? But when you're looking at what's going on right now, listen, if you believe that we could be controlling earthquakes, then, or at the very least, controlling where they go, do you really think it's that far-fetched, that science fiction to think that we might be controlling the weather? You know? You really think that's impossible? Now, do you really think that's impossible? We created an atomic bomb 80 years ago. 80 years ago, okay? And then here in 1952, which was 7 years after that, we did the Ivy Mike test. What's the Ivy Mike test, Jesse on Fire? I told you I know a lot about thermonuclear weapons. It is the first thermonuclear detonation in the history of the world, okay? And I'm going to tell you about that. Now, why am I talking about this right now? I'm talking about what we've been able to do with technology. Okay, so if you understand, wrap your brain around what we were able to do with Ivy Mike in 1952, then start thinking about what we might have been able to do since then in terms of controlling the weather, right? This is this detonation is impossible. I still don't even understand how we were able to do this, okay? Matter of fact, let me just show it to you, okay? I'll show you the Ivy Mike detonation, and then we'll talk about how big it was, and then we'll, go revisit whether or not maybe we're controlling the weather. Okay, and then we're gonna look at the North Carolina stuff. And then we're gonna look at the explosions from Israel. We are gonna look at so many explosions today. I'm probably going to have an anxiety attack.
2, 1, teaser.
So here's the thing about that. Remember how I told you that Hiroshima was 13 kilotons? Ivy Mike, 10 megatons. So, do that math. 850 Hiroshima bombs in one bomb, Now, all that's very interesting, Jesse on Fire. But let's talk about blast radius. You were always talking about blast radius, okay? What's a 10 megaton blast radius look like? I'm glad you asked, you guys, okay? So 10.4 megatons of TNT. The fireball created by the explosion had a maximum radius of 3 to 3.3 kilometers initially. Maximum radius was reached within several seconds. Anyway, ends up being about 5 kilometers wide. Just the fireball, okay? So you're talking 5 kilometers of dust, okay? I went over this before. You're talking about nothing. Nothing. Not a single thing is left. You're talking about taking a blackboard, which is humans have been here on Earth. Actually, any life has been on Earth. Trees, anything. Wipe it clean. Gone. For like over 5 kilometers. But then, that's just where you're in dust. That's not where the destruction stops at all. You're talking about a circle of absolute nothing, right? But just to give you some perspective, you know how there are these mushroom clouds? You know, like you see this mushroom cloud right here? Oh, I'm sorry. No, you can't see it. See that mushroom cloud? It'd be interesting to know like what are the dimensions of that? I'm glad you asked. What are the dimensions of that? So the fireball created yada, yada, yada. So the mushroom cloud rose to an altitude of 17 kilometers, 56,000 feet in less than 90 seconds. 1 minute later, it had reached 33 kilometers in height, 108,000 feet, before stabilizing at 41 kilometers. This is vertical, 135,000 feet, with the top eventually spreading out to a diameter of 100 fucking miles. Okay? 100 miles. So again, let's look at this one more time. Okay? Jesse, why you freak out about thermonuclear weapons? See that? What you're looking at, the top of that mushroom cloud is 100 fucking miles. 100 miles. Think about what the size of 100 miles, okay? What takes you 2 hours to get to on the freeway? What's somewhere that's 200, it's a 2-hour drive. That mushroom cloud is over top of your entire drive. Oh, wait, and there's a stem there too, right? Yeah, you're right. There is. Okay. And you would assume that most things are destroyed where the stem would be. And that would be exactly correct. So when we talk about the fireball, you're just talking about the very bottom that is 10 million degrees inside of it. It's hotter than the sun. Okay. The blast crater, so went into the ground, is 2 kilometers deep. Oh my God. Amazing, dude. Humans are so fucking stupid. It's unreal. I don't even need to get into the radioactive coral debris because they did it in the water. Let's just not, let's just not. But let's go ahead and look at the Castle Bravo test. Let's take a look at that because that one's good. That's a fun one to take a look at. Actually, I'm sorry. Let me just go backwards like this. Ready? So this is the biggest detonation the Americans ever did. This was an accident. After the Ivy Mike one was so out of control, they were like, okay, we don't need to do one that big anymore. So they were doing one they thought was going to be 7.5 megatons. It was meant to be smaller than Ivy Mike, and it ended up being twice as big as they expected. This is a 15 megaton detonation, and it's by far the most well-documented one of all time. Enjoy what Armageddon looks like. Now, if this bomb was detonated in Philadelphia, it would have killed every human being that lived in Philly, DC, New York City, and Boston, I think. I'm pretty sure it's all of those. All of those cities. Every single person in those cities, if the winds were blowing northeast, every single person in all of those cities would be dead. Every one of them. Not one survivor. In all of those cities. Look at this, dude. Okay? This is what Armageddon looks like. You know? This, along with this, right? But, you know, finishing up the Castle Bravo test, because it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Now, the reason it looks like it's going so slow, right? Seems like it's going pretty slow, right? Like, I don't understand how can an explosion be that slow? It's because those movements, you're talking about miles of movement. Miles of movement. So if you're looking at a 2-hour drive to go from one end of the blast, you know, the mushroom cloud to the other one under Ivy Mike, then let's do some math. How far are you going under the Castle Bravo one? Okay, that one was 10 megatons. This one is 15 megatons. How far are you going under the... It is a 3-hour drive to get from the edge of one to the edge of the other. A 3-hour fucking drive. So, yeah, you know, it's just fun. It's fun, right? Now, let's move over to this portion of the video, which I obviously don't want you to miss. You know, we just went over nuclear weapons again. We just went over the 2 biggest nuclear detonations that America has ever detonated. You got to see the videos yourself. And now let's look at an enormous bomb that Israel dropped on Lebanon this morning. Bigger than the other ones if we're looking at these buildings for scale. So I assume you guys remember the video that I did a few days ago about, you know, these massive bombs that both Russia dropped on Ukraine and Israel dropped on Lebanon. We'll take a look at this footage because this is pretty mind-blowing. This is this morning, and they got hit with 21 of these. 21 of these, apparently. Look at the buildings. It's a munitions place too, so watch. All these other munitions start going off also. I'm sorry, 30 strikes. Now they show the craters in the street from some of them too. Don't want to miss that. Yeah, those look like apartments. Okay, so that's that. Now let's go over to this. Let's finish on this part, right? This is a woman who's going to walk us through the level of destruction in North Carolina.
Here's the best breakdown I've seen that tells us the magnitude of what's going on. Let's go.
Talk to you about geography because we need to understand the scale of what's going on. This is the state of North Carolina. This is the area that's without power still. This is also the state of North Carolina. This yellow outline is the country of Belgium that I've overlaid for scale. Okay? This is the scale. 230,000 customers without power means households. Based on U.S. Census data, the average household size here is about 3, which means we're talking about 600,000 to 700,000 people who have not had power for a week. That is an emergency by itself. If you don't have power for a week, then if you had food stored in the freezer, no, you don't. If you had breast milk, insulin stored in the fridge, no, you don't. You don't get to run your CPAP machine. 750,000 people without power for a week.
I like her style, dude. I like her style a lot. When I was talking about you don't get killed by a nuclear weapon. You're like, oh yeah, we lived. No, you didn't. Right? Where do you get your food? The supermarket. No, you don't. How do I drive from A to B? Get gas. No, you don't. You know what I mean? I think it's a really good way to present information.
Should make headline news by itself. But power outages are unfortunately one of the mildest of problems. Water is also out. Cell coverage is out. If you're seeing people posting from this area, there's a good likelihood they're having to drive miles to do that. And that is if they have a car that wasn't destroyed, if they can get gas somehow, and if they have roads they can drive miles on. These are the road closures. Okay? And these roads are not closed because there's some water on them. They're closed because they look like this now. Right? This times this. That's the scale. The reason the roads look like that is because this is the topography. This is not like a lot of cities where you drive for a half an hour to go get to this. This is the region. This is where people live. When you live in the mountains, you get one road. And they're going to put it wherever they can put it. That's why it's shaped like this. Very often, that's going to be along a river or next to it. When a road looks like this, right, that means the land looks like this. So when a hurricane decides to go hiking in the mountains, which has never happened in this area before, ever, you're going to get a torrential amount of water, and it's going to be moving very fast because it's moving down a mountain. And this river is going to explode. It's going to take out this road right here, and it's going to take out this road right here. And then everybody that lives in here is trapped because you're not walking out. Some people are. Some people are putting what they can and their children on their back and hiking out, which is, to be honest, pretty representative of typical Appalachian scrappiness. Anyway, the other thing that's going to happen is mud, because the water is not going to just gently fall down the mountain and go in the river. It is going to get into the earth, and the earth is going to become mud, and that is incredibly heavy. And the whole mountainside is going to shear off like a windshield wiper and carry everything with it and put it in the river. And that's why we're seeing the level of destruction we're seeing, because roads are not the only thing that is gone. This is not a river. This is a town. This is Chimney Rock. This is a screenshot from this user. This is what it looked like before. And this is the scale that we're talking about. There are hundreds of small towns in this picture. This is Asheville, this right here. You've heard a lot about Asheville, probably, hopefully. Asheville is not a small remote mountain town. It is a city of 100,000 people. It is the city that you would drive to go to the doctor if you live in an actual small remote mountain town. And it did get devastated. It did get hit very hard. But part of the reason why you are seeing so much coverage out of Asheville is that you can get there right now. If you're going to send a news crew to North Carolina, they can just drive into Asheville. And you do not want to be taking up a helicopter right now just to take pictures, because people are still trapped. I do think some news organizations went here for a working lunch and didn't ask anybody if anyone lives up here. So I'm a little frustrated by that. But gradually, I think the coverage is developing. The rest of this is going to be very bleak, so don't watch it if you're already not okay, please. The mortality counts that you've seen in the tens are irresponsibly optimistic. Those are the people who've been identified. When you find someone's remains washed down a river, how do you know where they came from? How do you contact their loved ones to get an identification? When the cell towers are down, when the roads are down, when all of those people are still concentrating on trying to get out and trying to get food and water. You're going to wait. You're going to wait until the living are taken care of. We have not begun to hear the mortality numbers from this disaster. This is a small country. And it's my mom's small country. And it's gone. Please pay attention.
So I don't know if she's saying, actually, sorry, let me show you what her name is. Her name, Beeves. Wait, so Beeve Soft Time. Beevesoftime is who that was. Now, I don't know if she was saying that her mom is gone, like her mom is gone, but I don't even know, man. Like, I don't even know what to even say about that. Like, when you actually wrap your brain around the size of that devastation, you're like, what, dude? You know what I mean? Like, what? I don't even know what to do with that. How is anyone in the country even talking about anything else? especially going on to call her daddy, you know? I could go help the people of North Carolina, or we could go see whose dick smells what? Well, I should edit that out anyway. I was going to say go see whose breath smells more like dick, but I'm not going to say that out of respect for both Alex and Kamala, or at least I'm not going to put it in the video because I'm going to edit this out. But that's the joke I would have said if I was in a room of just my friends and not on YouTube. So, you know, just saying. To the non-people who will not see this, or the people who won't see this, fuck everybody. I would have said, let's see whose breath smells more like dick. And I was going to be talking about Kamala and Alex. But no offense, ladies. I'm just saying. It's just a joke I would have made. It's not what I mean, you know? Anyway, bye-bye.